Let's recap CLOV's week. Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm your beautiful host, Young Buffett, and today we are going to recap what happened this week. We're going to take a look at what people are talking about, what to expect next week. We're going to take a look at max pain. We're going to take a look at dark pool data. We're going to take a look at technicals, which we usually do not do, but I'm down. And overall, let's just dive into it, huh? If you're new here, this is what I do. It's kind of crazy, but I started a Wall Street stocks versus Wall Street bets meme stock challenge. But essentially what that means is I'm taking a look at highly manipulated stocks like CLOV, AMC. We're even talking about NFTs recently. So we're doing a lot of fun stuff. It is all very just educational and very simply said. This is a very simply said channel. We like to keep it basic. We like to keep it simple and easy to understand. I just want people to learn stuff. And if it takes a meme stock or a momentum stock to really capture that audience and talk about how to invest and take that knowledge and invest in other places, if you choose to, then so be it. First stock we picked was CLOV. We're currently down on that position, but in this channel, we're talking about how to navigate those positions accordingly. First thing we like to take a look at is Ape Wisdom. So Ape Wisdom tracks Wall Street Bets, Wall Street Bets New, Wall Street Bets Elite, stocks, stock market, investing, SPACs, options, and day trading subreddits. It tracks the most talked about tickers on Reddit in the past 24 hours. It's a cool tool to kind of gauge who's talking about what, where money's going, and so on. But the most talked about ticker today was SPY. So SPY did great today. Powell talked today. A lot of geopolitics stuff is still developing. There are still some catalysts out there to look out for the overall market. A lot of people are expecting some sort of pullback, but we're going to take it one day at a time here. I'd rather be late than wrong. Overall public sentiment for the SPY is about 59% positive. So people are on the fence about if things are going to get bullish. In my opinion, next week should in fact be a little bit bullish. But we got GameStop number 2, AMC number 3. Where's CLOV? What? Did I miss it? CLOV is number 20. That is the lowest that I've seen it on the most talked about stocks. We got Alibaba ahead of it with China drama. We got BlackBerry there for some reason. AMD with the chip stuff. Palantir with some news that they were leaking information on accident to the FBI. And then we got Nvidia, more chip stuff. Tesla, chillin'. Cassava Sciences. Apple, Peloton, Root, QQQ, Wish, Amazon, Microsoft, then CLOV. What's going on? We have an 85% positive public sentiment. That is also the most that I've seen CLOV be talked about positively. So that's interesting, but we do have a smaller sample size. There are only 60 mentions across those subreddits that we just talked about. Nearby words including wish, buy, green, time, calls, up, holding, moon, price, hold, like, touch, wouldn't, bag, accept. So interesting. Momentum is falling, but I don't know if that's going to affect the stock price. Let's look at what Wall Street Bets is talking about. Wall Street Bets is talking about BABA, GME, Palantir, Peloton, AMC, BB, Tesla, Sava, Wish, Nvidia, AMD, Sophie, Apple, Root, IWM, ASTS, Amazon, QQQ, then CLOV. So it's really fallen. CLOV is usually in the top 5 at least. Comment volume is going down. I do like to take a look at this chart to see if that relates to the stock price whatsoever. And it kind of just doesn't. It's deviating from it, and they're running away from each other. The stock price is, in fact, going up, but comment volume is going down. I don't really know what to make of that. I don't really care either way. I'm just here holding my shares and documenting it, but I don't really care if people are talking about it. I'm talking about it. Options are super interesting. Let's take a look at the max pain. The max pain for this week was 8, and it did not change all week. Last week, we noticed it was 9, and then it became 8.5. Now it is 8, and it has stuck at 8. The stock price closed at, let's see, 858. That's what the stock price closed at. So just above the max pain. Now, if you don't know, I have a video about max pain on my channel somewhere right here. What is max pain? If you want to learn more about what max pain is, definitely check out this video right over here. But essentially what you need to know is where should the stock price land by the end of the week to cause the most amount of pain to calls and puts. A lot of people had the 4, 5, and 6 puts. A lot of people had the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 calls. So a lot of money here and a lot of money there. CLOV closed at 8.5. Look at that. So everybody who bought an 8 put lost. Everybody who bought an 8 call won. So not a lot of people had that 8 call. That's why it didn't cause true maximum pain, as the name suggests, but it still did cause pain, because if you bought the $9 call, guess what? It's worth $0 now. If you had bought in shares, guess what? You would have been fine. So again, nothing in this video should be taken as financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of security or investment. However, just be careful with options. That's all I'm going to say on that. Next up, let's take a look at dark pool data. Hasn't really changed much. It did have a drastic change though when it was negative 9 million in net short volume. The net short volume is currently sitting at negative 3.563 million. The net short volume in dollars is sitting at negative 30.25 million. So it's kind of leveling out, but again, we do not have a lifeguard there. We do not know what's going on. It's being shorted, obviously. So I guess we'll see how that affects the stock price next week. Now, I saw this post by Sanel K. I love his posts, but let's see what he says this time. CLOV is extremely close to a technical breakout. What makes CLOV breakout different from GME and AMC is that CLOV is bottoming out. These breakouts in many cases run for months. Daily chart attached, very bullish. So I like I like when I read things like that because it makes me all excited. I get really excited. I'm like, ooh, there's technicals. But take this with a grain of salt. Technicals are when you look at stock patterns and bars and graphs and candles and movement and volume and weighted volume and averages over 50 days, 200 days. You take a look at different patterns and how they form and all these things. And you can trade based off of those things. There are people who are highly successful traders who use technical analysis. I personally do not, so I am extremely biased when it comes to technical analysis. I feel like it's fair for me to say that to you guys, just as a level of transparency, just because of historical price movement. It is not always indicative of future price movement. So be very, very careful. But this stuff usually can play out. So again, please take that with a grain of salt. Nothing in this video is a financial advice or recommendation to buy or sell anything, but it is interesting. So CLOV is about 80 cents away from a 50 DMA, daily moving average, the blue line. When you exceed the DMA, the 50-day, typically you could see a breakout. And a breakout oftentimes can be triggered when things like, okay, hold on. So imagine you're a computer, right? Imagine you're an AI that trades stocks. A lot of those computers trade off of algorithms or a system of equations or a system of functions or a series of triggers. And by triggers, I mean if-then statements. Think of it that way. If ticker exceeds 50-day moving average, then buy. That's one example of an algorithm that might be able to trade the stock. So oftentimes when stuff like this happens, if CLOV hits this price or exceeds the 50 DMA, then you can expect an 80% chance, I'm just making this up, an 80% chance that it goes up. Now, that's why people take a look at these technicals, because computers are looking at these technicals, because institutions are using these technicals, because there is a lot of money revolving around these technicals. So when you see something like this, it is definitely interesting, but I'm not saying go take out a second mortgage and put it all in CLOV. What I am saying is just watch and see what happens. That's what I'm going to be doing. If the price continues to go down, I will be looking to average down, and we'll talk about what the plan is right now. CLOV went up 1.41%. It did see a peak of 873. So overall, it did have a good day. It started off kind of shaky, but honestly, everything did. Everything in the market today was kind of shaky to begin with. We did gap up essentially on the SPY, but everybody was waiting for Powell. And Jerome Powell came out, said his stuff, said the same thing he always says. And you can see the overall market on the SPY. It went up. Everything went up at the same time. You see that? It went boop, 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 and then beep. That beep right there, that boop, that big candle, that green candle right there. That's Powell starting to talk. That's him being dovish on tapering. He said he wants to taper this year. The market agreed. Didn't seem like he was in a rush to taper. And taper just pretty much means that they're slowing down their bond purchases. You can think of it like when you get a haircut. That's like the best example I can think of is you get a haircut and they taper the sides. You know, have you ever gotten a haircut where you taper the sides, where it goes from small to big? That's essentially what is happening here. The Fed is going to start tapering soon. So I'm curious to see how that plays out when they finally do decide to. But the whole point is here, after you learned about how to get a haircut, is the market heard Powell. His prepared statements came out at that time, and everything just started to go up. He allowed the markets to breathe easy. Everybody was waiting to hear what he said. And everything else followed, as you can see with AMC, GME, CLOV. Pick any stock. Pick one. Banks, everything. Everything was like, okay, cool. And it went up, and it started trading as normal. And it just kind of consolidated towards the end of the day over here and ended in the green, which is good to see. I like to see when stocks close in the green on Fridays, because it just shows you how people feel going into the weekend. They're okay holding it into the weekend. Let's see what happens on Monday. Let's see what happens next week. And looking at next week, the options, a lot of volume on the 9 calls, on the 9.5, on the 10, some crazy people on the 17s and the 15s. But overall, just a good amount of volume on there. The Septembers are starting to pick up now. We're still holding the September 17th, and we are down about 32% on those, but it's only like $6, so I don't really care. We bought it for 20 cents or $20 because every contract is representative of 100 shares. So you multiply that by 100, 27 times 100 is $27. So overall, it's all good. Oh, you know what? Let's take a look at max pain for next week. Max pain for next week is 8.5. Remember that. Let's see if that changes. There's also some historical data here, max pain historical data, and it's usually either close or not close at all. So it really doesn't like correlate. But because it is so highly manipulated, I'm just curious to see how it plays out. Well, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I get back to everything. And with that, I hope you have a great weekend, and I love you, and I'll see you on the next video.